Hello and welcome to an interview with Ollie Winiberg. And as you can see, he's here with me. We are very lucky. I've had the pleasure of meeting Ollie a couple of times at various dyslexia events. And we found that we were both very shy and quiet and didn't have much to say to each other. No, we couldn't stop talking. So we decided let's do something together. So Ollie kindly agreed to join this TTRS webinar. It isn't our usual kind of webinar, but we're both very excited about it. Thank you so much, Ollie, for joining us.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Brilliant. We will get started in a couple of minutes, but I'm just going to wait because I can see lots of people still entering and people who are registered not quite there yet. While you're waiting, if you can go to the polls tab, there are just 3 short questions. And sorry, it's trying to ask me to do the questions.
It's asking me.
Good. I'm just checking you can actually see them. Oh, it has. Yeah, it's brilliant. They're already there. So there are 3 questions. You don't have to do it if you don't want to answer them. But it's just to give us an idea of who we've got with us, what, a little bit about you, and also to stop you getting bored while we're just chit-chatting ready to get started. So feel free to go to the polls tab. Another thing to let you know about at the moment, there is an opportunity if you want to ask questions. There's a question tab. Please try and keep the questions relevant to kind of what Ollie's talking about or what I'm talking about, or, which will probably be quite a broad spectrum. We will try and answer your questions, but I can't promise we will have time for all of them. Ollie, have I forgotten anything? Is that everything?
I don't think so. I think you've done pretty well.
Not bad.
Impressed.
In the evening. Brilliant. Okay, I can see lots more people joining. I think we'll just give it 1 more minute and then we'll get started. The way this is going to work, I'm going to ask Ollie a little bit about himself. So I won't try and explain about Ollie and what he does and what he's like and everything else. So I might get it wrong and insult him or not. I will ask Ollie those things. And then Ollie's going to be asking me a little bit later a bit more about TTRS. And Ollie's been an absolute superstar and has been playing around with TTRS to get an idea of it himself. So you do know what the platform's all about, sort of, don't you?
I've had a go and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. And yeah, whereas I'm very familiar with TTRS, having used it for, well, how long ago? I think it was about 7 years ago. My son originally used it. So yeah, so we're going to be just asking each other questions, having a chat, hopefully staying on topic. We will try, but there's a big chance with both of us we might go off on a tangent. So forgive us for that.
So true.
Okay, I think we have got a lot of people with us now, so we'll get started. There will be a recording of this webinar that will be sent to all of you afterwards, or a link to it. So for people who joined a bit later, they'll be able to do that. Or if you want to share it with other people because we're so interesting and wonderful, then you'll be able to do that. So, Ollie, enough of me talking. Can you just tell us a little bit about you? Who is Ollie Winiberg?
Well, hello, and firstly, thank you for letting me jump on this. Whenever it comes to anything kind of neurodiverse, I'm all about flying the flag for that. So my name's Ollie, which you probably guessed from the title of this webinar. For it's a bit of irrelevant information coming from me. I was a presenter for the BBC for over a decade, 13 years, and I got the job presenting for the BBC shortly before my GCSE results. As a teenager, I think I was the youngest ever presenter for the BBC, I think, at one point. Although Noel Edmonds started at 15, so he might have just undercut me. But yeah, that's kind of me. I left the BBC in 2021 and started a podcast on Spotify, and it kind of just seemed like the right time to really kind of go into what I really love, and that obviously is music. I'm a musician myself, and I love talking. So you put the two together, you've got a talking musician talking to musicians, and it's just amazing, and I love it.
Brilliant. And you've already mentioned how important neurodiversity is to you and raising the topic. And I know we're both equally passionate about all things neurodiverse and dyslexia. Yes. Where does that passion come from for you?
For me, being in school in the kind of bottom sets for most things, um, I think it was a real confidence knocker, actually, because the thing I used to thrive at was music, but I just couldn't do anything else. I remember so well, and I know that a lot of people here will be able to relate to this. I remember getting homework as like a kid in primary school, and I would feel physically restrained because my brain couldn't do what my hand needed it to do with the pen. And I think unless you have something like a neurodiverse trait, or you are neurodiverse, you can't grasp that concept that you can't do what your brain is trying to make you do. And it's kind of I suppose mentally it's almost torturous. It's really, really difficult. And it was actually my nan that said, I think he's got dyslexia. And she, out of kind of everyone, said, like she spoke to my mum, and for a long time we thought it was a problem with my eyes. So I was like I was basically Specsaver's best customer for like a year, because they were always giving me new glasses. I was like, no, he needs these. And then my school kind of supported, what like my nan said, and my mum got involved. And yeah, and I remember having that kind of formal diagnosis as a child. And it was almost like a moment of pure euphoria, because I was like, everything that's been going on in my head, it now makes perfect sense. And I think a lot of people, they sort of sometimes go, oh, I think I'm a bit dyslexic, and that kind of, I think, go and get the test, just go and do it. You can source the to get that diagnosis. Because it's very easy, I think, to say, I think I'm a bit dyslexic, if, you might get your numbers or letters wrong. But actually, when you get that diagnosis, it gives you the ability to better understand what you're going through in order to deal with it better. And for me, I had a formal diagnosis as a child, and I had another one at the age of 23. And both of them obviously confirm the dyslexia, and I have dyspraxia as well, which is crazy because I play drums, and but anyway.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, and yeah, so sorry, I've kind of gone on my own kind of monologue here, but yeah, that's kind of my sort of relationship with. I have no idea if I answered your question or not. I'm sorry.
You absolutely did. And I honestly have to say, you've sent shivers down my spine. I haven't explained to other people actually my kind of link. I'm a teacher, or yes, I still am. I'm a teacher a bit, do lots of different things. I'm also mum to a delightfully dyslexic son. And having seen my own son start to lose his confidence at an early age at school, absolutely fine when he started, because he had great skills with, the sort of early foundation things. But as soon as it was about getting pen down to paper and reading, you saw his confidence go, and it is horrible. And I now help a lot of other parents. They come to me to ask me for advice, and every time I have the conversation, I just feel sick, because I think, no, we can't let these kids grow up thinking they're stupid when they're absolutely not. They're amazing. They just think differently, learn differently. And what you said about the diagnosis, interesting, because I'm not always a massive advocate for having to have a full diagnosis.
Okay.
But I think it needs to be explored. So you need to find out what your strengths are, what the areas are that are difficult for you, and understand how to overcome them and build strategies, rather than just thinking, oh, well, I'm not, as you said, people say, oh, I think I might be a bit dyslexic. You don't know anything about it.
Yes.
Whereas when okay, one of my problems is slow processing. So then you can give yourself time to do things. You don't put yourself in a situation where, now I'm assuming you probably don't have slow processing, because you're very quick with a lot of things. But
I don't know.
I think, generally speaking, someone with slow processing would find something like this difficult, an interview, because they need time to think in between. But then you can put those things in place. So thanks, Ollie. You absolutely answered my question about where your passion for all things neurodiverse came from, and you sent shivers down my spine. But a lot of people will be able to understand that. So we've talked a bit about the fact that people with dyslexia and other neurodiversities obviously have strengths, like everyone does.
Yes.
Do you have certain strengths that you think are because of you thinking differently?
It's really difficult to answer that question because I live inside my head, so I don't know how other people think. When I had my formal diagnosis as an adult, it was explained to me that when most kind of neurotypical people, if they want to say something, their brain will engage in two halves. It will kind of go from A to B, and then out your mouth will be C. For a dyslexic, it's A to Q to W to Z, and then it will come out eventually in the end in some way, shape, or form. And do you know what? I just think it's great. What an amazing gift to have your brain. It is like you're constantly doing overtime. It can be exhausting because, you know, if I'm asked to do, you know, like I don't know, if someone says to me, "Oh, can you take the bins out, go to the shop, and then I don't know, go to the tip," I have forgotten what that first thing is, and a lot of people around me find that almost insufferable to be around. But actually, like, I can't help that my brain is like it's like a colander, it's like a sieve. If somebody pours water in there, it's going to come out. So you have to.
Can I butt in? Can I interrupt? Because I can give
Yes.
you a top tip for that.
Okay.
So
Get a better colander.
Give you instructions that are more than one thing.
Yeah.
Number them. If they say 1, do this, 2, do that, 3, do that, you are likely to find you're much more likely to remember them because you know, hang on, there was 1, there was 2, there was 3. It won't always work.
I'm only going to remember the numbers. Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3.
It works for some people. It depends again. It depends on your brain, and everyone with dyslexia is different. But I've seen it work quite a lot.
I'm going to try that.
So try it and see. But sorry,
no, don't. No, it's fine. Like, I don't know. You know, again, there are so many different variations of dyslexia and so many different sort of types. But for me, like, I think dyslexia, yes, it impacts, and I know that we're all about sort of TTRS, and we're going to be talking about spelling and reading and stuff. For me, I feel like organization is the prime suspect of my dyslexia. It is the thing that takes over my world. I am so, as you've probably noticed, because you've had to send me the link for this about 7 times, I am so unorganized. It's unbelievable. I have routine. For me is king. I'm naturally so unorganized that routine is, it's like, you know, when I was at school, I had on the side of my bed, it was wallet, keys, phone, and I always knew where those things were. But yeah, organization is, I think, for a lot of us dyslexics, a real kick.
And I think part of it is because your brain is so busy with all these different things going across and thinking and in a sort of roundabout way, which often means you can solve problems that other people can't because you think about it differently. But then when your brain's busy with all that, it's difficult to remember the other things. So I think it's when you kind of think about what's going on in your brain, it makes sense that you can't hold everything in there. And so organization often will suffer. And I think for me, adults that I know with dyslexia are either incredibly disorganized or very, very specific, and everything is in place and there can't be change. And it's because that is how they've learned not to forget things.
That sounds like a successful dyslexic.
Well, it's just different. No, it's different. It's just different strategies, and it's what works for you. So I was going to go on to ask you about the struggles you've faced because of dyslexia. Obviously, you've already mentioned that organisation is an ongoing issue, and you have to find ways to overcome it.
Well, one of the things actually I really definitely should have mentioned in my strengths, which I totally forgot, but I play drums and I love it. And music to me is something that I feel like if I wasn't able to play an instrument, I don't know who I would have been. Because for me, when I was in school, my teacher's constantly saying, well, if he concentrated a bit more, it's like, you don't, it's so muddled up in here. You know, you have no idea what's going on. So, and I appreciate, I'm not bashing the education system at all, because I think that teachers do an amazing job and they're overlooked, quite frankly. But actually, I think that, you know, this was kind of mid to late 90s when not a lot was known about dyslexia at the time. But I just remember all the time hearing, well, if he worked a bit harder, and I just felt like saying, I am working my hardest, and just because it's not giving you the results that you want to see, that is not a reflection on how hard I'm working. And that used to really break my heart, that I felt like I was putting in 200. I know it's not possible to get to 200%. I'm just for the, you know, okay,
right, we're not judging you on your math.
Well, no, please don't. You know, I feel like if everyone was putting in 100%, I was putting in 200%, and my results in maths and English still were awful. So I think if it wasn't for music, if it wasn't the fact that I could sit behind a drum kit, and that drum kit for me would be like almost like a peacock showing its feathers, like this is actually who I am, and this is what I can do, just because I can't divide, or just because I don't use algebra, which, by the way, I have never used as an adult. So what is the point in learning that? You know,
I won't go into teacher mode and tell you.
No.
Actually, you're right. A lot of it is. There is a good reason for some, but not a lot of it.
Teach kids tax returns anyway. Sorry, it's not that sort of.
Yes, no, I agree.
But yeah, so for me, that was the kind of music was the saving grace. And I think the wonderful thing about dyslexics is how amazingly artistic we are, whether that's photography, music, art, whether that's just how you perceive the world in a more artistic way. It's amazing. You get to see the world in colors that other people don't, and I actually think it's a gift.
100% is. And it's interesting, actually, because I'm the opposite to you. I have no music talent whatsoever.
That's right, nor do I.
It runs in my family a bit. We're definitely not musicians. We are more, our big strength is sport. And so for my son being dyslexic, it's exactly the same for him. That is where he could feel good about himself, feel happy, succeed. And I was always a big believer when he was younger that I wasn't going to make him do loads of extra reading and writing when he got home, because that was what he'd been working really hard on all day, and he was exhausted. Like you said, you could see how tired someone gets when they're having to think. And yes, I agree with you. The education system is amazing in lots of ways, but I have to say it's not necessarily designed for people who are neurodiverse. So when you're trying to fit into that, and that's not how your brain works, it is really, really tiring. So to then have something you excel at, and I love the way you described it as your drums being a peacock showing its feathers. Oh my, I bet one of your English teachers would never expect you to have come up with something so descriptive and poetic. But you said it, I was like, wow, your English must be amazing. And thought, I wonder if your teachers would have expected it.
Liz, I can honestly say, and I know people would be embarrassed to say this, apart from a menu, I've never read anything. I've never needed to. I've needed to read a menu because I absolutely love food and alcohol. But when it comes to books, it is so hard to read. I've even the great thing about growing up in a world where now we've got sort of Google and everything. You can Google things like, what do dyslexics see? And it's really, if you haven't done it, seriously, go and do it. It's so interesting. You'll see one of the examples is like, it's a page, looks like it comes from sort of a book, where the writing all kind of intertwines like spaghetti junction, and that is exactly what I see. So the fact I can sit here and say I've never read a book, if you wanted to, it looks like sort of train tracks going into each other, and it flashes at the same time. It's like, it's not possible. I can sit there with a ruler. I did the bare minimum. Well, not the bare minimum. I actually tried my hardest at school to sort of get through things. But you know, you can put a ruler over text, and you can sort of show each line as you come down. But the information isn't retained, and because that's really difficult.
Concentrating on the process of reading rather than being able to just take in the information and process that. So yeah,
is that actually why? Is that genuinely why?
Absolutely, yeah. And do you know what? I think it actually might have been my daughter that explained that to me about my son. It's like, well, Mum, it makes sense, because what he's doing is thinking about reading. We don't have to think; it's automatic to read for a lot of people when you get to a certain stage. So reading for me is the same as breathing, and so then I'm taking in what it's about. Whereas for someone who struggles with the reading and has got to actually, you are thinking how to read.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to take in all the information as well. I mean, and yet you've mentioned about the reading windows, and there are all sorts of strategies that can help people. But also we live in a world where we've got loads of tech now. And so you can have audiobooks. It doesn't mean any longer that you have to miss out on the world of books. You just approach it from a different way.
100%.
And I think
100%.
probably good now to link in with TTRS, touch, type, read
Yes.
and spell. And before I sort of hand over and you ask me questions, because I'm a
Okay.
freak, I still want to talk a bit more. I guess what I was saying a little while ago about my son and not wanting him to have to do loads of extra work once he was at home because he worked so hard at school. When I discovered TTRS for him, it's amazing because he just did 10, 15 minutes 3 times a week. And it was brilliant because he saw progress. He felt good. He felt like he was learning to type rather than doing more of what he found difficult, the reading and spelling. But in the process, his reading and spelling improved hugely. And I think I was saying to you the other day, Ollie, how I've suddenly realized that my daughter, who is more stereotypically academic, her spelling is atrocious. And I wish I'd have got her to do TTRS. And she's just got incredible A-level results. But if you look at her spelling, you'd think, wow, there's something going on there. And she must be far more dyslexic than your son. But it's the way it goes.
School is hard, isn't it? I mean, just whilst we're, I know it's GCSE week this week, isn't it? Or it was, or it's just been. And
no, Thursday was A-levels. This Thursday
it's GCSEs.
And I'm really clever and had children 2 years apart, so I have both at the same time.
Oh,
so we've done one more to go.
Amazing.
Dyslexic Son's Day on Thursday. We'll see how that goes.
Well, one of the things I don't know if there's anybody here that's gone through their GCSEs, going through their GCSEs, or if there's any parents that are going through that. Liz, obviously, I know that you're going through that at the moment. The thing I would say is this: your GCSE results or A levels it's not really a reflection on your abilities. As I said earlier, I got an E in maths. I've never read a book in my life, and people think, "Oh, are you not embarrassed by those things?" No, not really. I've done a lot of other things because my dyslexia has enabled me to think differently to other people, and because of those things, like when I was 16, I set up my own record label. Didn't need maths for that. Didn't need to know algebra for that. Because I did that, I got a job at the BBC. Because I got a job at the BBC, I got a job with with a podcast on Spotify. And my career is a reflection of my ability to think, perhaps not neurotypically. And if anybody's worried about their GCSE results, honestly, don't worry about it. It's fine. Just 100%. if you've worked your hardest, that's all that matters. And even if you've made mistakes, you can go back in a couple of years and retake exams. So if there's anyone watching that is worried about their children's or their own results, please take it from me, the buck doesn't stop when you're 16. So yeah, I just really wanted to get that out there.
100% agree. From my sort of teacher head and parent head, 100% agree. The qualifications, so the GCSEs and A-levels, they're a reflection on only the things they test you in.
Exactly.
And actually, how much of those things do we need in real life? Does it show that you can, that you're a kind person, that you can work with other people, that you're good at teamwork, that you're resilient? No, it just tests what the education system thinks is important because that's what they've tested for years.
100%.
For me, the fact that exams are still handwritten mostly, it's just a sign that we're really out of date now with that kind of thing. So 100%, I agree. It can feel massive for teenagers getting results if it's not what they were hoping for or what other people were hoping for them. But in the big scheme of it, they will find their way. And with support, this is the big thing. And this is where my heart is, because people who don't get the support take a different path. And it can end very differently to they're not successful and happy and sort of well-rounded like you. It can be a very different story.
I think also, and I know. Look, I really want to get talking about TTRS because it's incredible and I love it and I can't wait to kind of dive into it with you. The only last other thing I'm just going to say while I've got you here and in this scenario, because whenever I talk, it's about music and I love music, but also this is a passion of mine as well. again, anybody that's kind of watching this that has kids or is dyslexic themselves, I grew up with a very academic older brother who got fantastic results, and who, you know, went to university, and he's super clever. And in the back of my mind, I think I always thought, you know, why am I not sort of getting that? And actually, I think, again, getting that diagnosis of dyslexia, it's actually, it answers so many questions and makes you stop making those really unhealthy comparisons. And now young people have got access to social media, and, you know, people probably post their exam results on social media, and, you know, this is what I got, and that, you know. And again, please do not spend your life worrying about other people and making comparisons, because well, it's all a load of rubbish, really. You know, and actually, we're all the same, and let's just support each other. Let's be kind to each other. If you didn't get the grades that you wanted, you know, as I said earlier, don't worry about it. And I think comparisons, especially in the younger generation, are so dangerous when it comes to neurodiversity and worrying about what their mates got in exams, or how their friends have got like a better paid job because they got better results at uni or whatever. Honestly, take it from me, don't make comparisons. Just live your best life. And it's like turning into a therapy session, this, isn't it?
Yeah, and add into that, actually, if you are someone, or you've got a child who's like that, who is looking at social media constantly to see how other people did and feeling bad about themselves, now is actually a very good time. A lot of celebrities or sort of high profile people who didn't do well at school are talking about it and saying, do you know what? I completely, my exams were a disaster for me. It wasn't what I was expecting, what I wanted, what everyone else wanted. This is what I'm doing now. And they've got these incredible lives and roles. And so actually turn it around. If you've got someone in your life who is kind of using social media to put themselves down, show them the other side of it, that actually in the long term, it is okay. So
100%. Yeah, sorry, I turned this into like almost Jerry's final thought, didn't I? I didn't mean to actually do I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, I just wanted to.
It's great.
We should go on. Shall we do TTRS? This is why we're here.
TTRS, because I'm very passionate about that, as you know.
Okay, so can you tell, I mean, I already know this, but can you tell the lovely lot listening and watching, hello, by the way, you're all lovely. Can you tell us about TTRS?
Absolutely. So I would try and keep it short, because I can go on and on and on and on, as people who know me know, especially about TTRS. And I always have a big thing that I am not naturally a salesperson. But when I talk about TTRS, I sound like I am, but only because I genuinely love it. And I've seen personally and professionally how it works so well. So the basics, the idea behind it is that, and it was set up 30 years ago, just over 30 years ago now, and it was sent out on a floppy disk to people to load on their computers. This program that probably took loads of space, and all the rest of it was probably quite slow and sluggish. And over the years, the amazing directors of TTRS have listened to people, learnt things, taken on ideas, and developed it so that it's now an online touch typing learning platform that also helps with reading and spelling. So the main concept behind it is that it's a multisensory approach. So because you're seeing it, hearing it, and typing at the same time, it's helping all the senses are being used to take in the information. And because of the repetition and the fact that you're focusing on typing, you're not thinking about, oh, I'm learning how to spell this word, or I'm learning this letter pattern. It's happening automatically, and it's really empowering. Yes, and one of the key things that I think is different. Sorry, you're probably going to ask me that. I'm basically asking. I'm so bad.
No, you're all right. You're okay. Keep going.
Sorry.
It was all very lovely and organic. I was enjoying it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just went on, and So one of the things that is very different to other typing programs is that it's actually real words.
Wait. So Liz, how is TTRS different from other typing programs?
Oh, Ollie, that's a really good question to ask. Where did that come from?
Your email.
I'm so sorry. I am a control freak. But but it's because it kind of went on and then, yeah, anyway, back to
It
it.
worked. It worked.
Yes.
Go.
Instead of being one of those typing courses where you're having to do things like JK, 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 which actually isn't really helpful when you're ever going to actually be typing JK in real life. And it can be quite tricky for some people to learn that way. TTRS uses real words, and so seeing them, hearing them, using it, it's all helping to build up that phonics and the letter sound recognition and everything like that. So that's one amazing thing, but I haven't finished. I'm not ready for you to, butt in yet. It is also purposely distraction free. So it's not got bright graphics and sort of a game element, but we get some comments that, hang on, why hasn't it got games? Why isn't it just fun?
Yeah.
And we've designed it. I didn't design it. The clever people designed it. So that it purposely it's not full of distractions. So actually you can focus on what you're meant to be doing. And it's very short modules. So it's easy to kind of stay focused for that time. So not only is it great for people with with dyslexia, it's also great for people with ADHD and other attention difficulties. It's not
which dyslexia impacts, doesn't it? Dyslexia does, they don't. I was reading that dyslexia can exacerbate symptoms of ADHD and vice versa.
I guess so. There's a crossover, and also more and more the research shows there's a massive crossover. So a lot of people who have one area of neurodiversity are likely to have something else as well.
Oh wow!
You're much more likely, like you with your dyslexia and dyspraxia. That's really, I was going to say common. I didn't mean it in a bad way, but
no, that's fine.
It's quite, people will have something else.
It's like buy one get one free.
What was that?
It's like buy one get one free.
100%, yeah. Or like kick someone when they're down at the point where they're just trying to get used to it, but it turns into buy one get one free. I like that. Yeah, absolutely right. I think I finished talking about the differences.
I'm so sorry. No, do you know one thing that I actually really liked about the TTRS for me was it actually made me see, for me as dyslexic, spelling I don't think has ever, whilst it is atrocious, it's never been the thing that's been the defining factor for me for my dyslexia. Like I always find like my organizational skills are kind of number one with dyslexia, followed by reading, then spelling and my handwriting. But actually, when I was doing some of the courses on TTRS, I found it, and I'm not selling it, but I found it to be one of the first things I have ever worked on, like a neurodiversity module that isn't patronizing. And as Liz said, like the colors are not distracting, and I'm so easily distracted. I could see one color, I could be looking at 100 colors, and if one of them's like bright, I'll go, oh, and that's it, I'm gone for the rest of the. But like it really is so easy to use. And when you have a something like neurodiversity, like dyslexia, doing those programs, the idea of them can be like, oh, well, this is going to be like going back to school. I can assure you it's really not. I never knew that I spelt concentrate wrong for 32 years until I got on to TTRS. I was like, I'm sure there's an R in, there's a second R in there, or there's an R in there. And it was just going, no, you are wrong. And so I actually learned how to spell and read at the same time. So for me, that was something that massively benefited me. And the fact that the program itself is, as I said, not patronizing. It's not, oh, well done, next week shapes. It's not doing that. It's saying, we are here to help you.
Oh, it's amazing hearing that, because as a team, we very much are always trying to make sure we're not being patronizing. And TTRS was originally designed for children. So it's had to adapt over the time. And we're always thinking we want it to not feel patronizing. But when you're so familiar with something, you kind of can lose sight sometimes. So to hear you say it without me prompting you is just amazing. It's just like, hey, this is it. This is what we've wanted. This is, the whole point. We've done that. We've achieved it, and we'll carry on
100%.
Developing and changing. We love hearing from people as to what what works for them, what doesn't. As I
Mhm.
said, we do get some people who say we want it to be more games, and we explain why it's not. And we're not always going to be like, okay, you want that, we'll do it. But we really spend so much time between us getting feedback and like emailing each other about the feedback and saying, look, did you see someone said that? Actually, it's a really good idea. What can we do about that? And we'll adapt things all the time to make it, even better than it already is.
Yeah, I mean, when you sign up to it, like if you're signing up to TTRS, I know it sounds really boring, but you sort of you know you are there to work. You know you're there to do work on yourself.
Yeah.
If you want to be distracted, go and scroll through like Instagram or go and like play your PlayStation or something, like, because that's kind of the world where you want to give into those, wants and needs and stuff like that, and that's fine. But if you are really wanting to make a difference to yourself, I can honestly say with my hand on my heart that TTRS is probably the first thing that has ever made me not realize I wasn't being distracted. And I'd spent like 20-25 minutes kind of looking at one of the modules, for example, like one of the spelling ones, and I didn't realize that the time had gone because I was enjoying it as well because it was so kind of distraction free.
That's brilliant. Yeah. And another thing that we always say to people, particularly parents or teachers who are getting children to use it, and they might try and get them to do like an hour's session or something, don't do it like that. And as an adult, don't push yourself to do longer. Actually, ideally, between 15 and 30 minutes is perfect. Beyond that, you will start getting tired. You'll make mistakes. You'll start feeling demotivated. So it's the opposite to what people worry about, that they're going to have to spend hours and hours sat there doing this work. 15 to 30 minutes, 3 or 4 times a week, perfect. You're going to make so much progress, and it's motivating to see you get it right. And I know Ollie and I have talked about this before, but one of my needs, I need praise. So you can choose things like having the applause at the end of module. So when you finish, it claps you. And I guess most people would find that quite childish. I love it. I love it. If I'm testing a new subject or a module and it claps me, I just smile. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
Different things for different people, because we do all learn differently and we
100%.
are very different.
100%. Yeah, definitely. Do you think that TTRS is particularly good for me and other neurodiverse adults, and if so, why?
100%. We've already said it's distraction free, so that helps.
Sorry, I was distracted when you were talking about that.
You weren't listening. You need to listen more. You need to focus. Oh no, sorry, no. I'm understanding of this. No.
Getting 90s flashbacks.
The repetition is good, so we can repeat. That's good. Repeat for everyone. There's so many things that are great for people who are neurodiverse in using TTRS. Partly it's not distraction free. You can do it quickly. It doesn't seem childish, so people could use it. So for example, it's particularly in Ireland, actually, a lot of the libraries have now got subscriptions to TTRS, and people can go in and use it, and they're in a public place and they don't feel silly, like, oh, I'm doing this work that children would be doing, I'm looking at a baby book or whatever. They sit there, they're learning to type, and as far as everyone can see, they're typing. People don't even need to know it's helping with their reading and spelling. Similarly, people can use it if they're on a train commuting. They can get their laptop out, do it. It's some of the sort of additions along the way to TTRS is that it's not just a typing course now, as well as the main course that it does teach the typing and helps with reading and spelling. We have loads of subjects, some that are school related, some that are more related to hobbies. So they can be amazing to help with things you need to learn about, things that you're interested in. And some of the sort of hobby related ones are about the Olympic and Paralympic Games. We also have a whole series on neurodiversity that I wrote because I'm really passionate about people understanding what it means to be dyslexic or have ADHD or have autism. And to be honest and see that, yes, there are things that are hard about it. There are challenges, but also there are strengths, and sort of with positive affirmations and things, which is very much my way of teaching. Maybe because that's what I like to have to me, positive things, but no, there's all sorts in there. But as well as that, so from the sense of a neurodiverse adult, you can actually create your own subjects. So if you're really interested in something particular, so music related terminology, you could do that and then practice it as a typing module. Doing the drill helps it to go into your head. If you've got a chef who is dyslexic, and I'm sure we can all immediately think of one very famous chef who is dyslexic, but actually it's quite common for chefs to be dyslexic. And I think because it's more of a practical thing, and they're not having to do too much reading and writing, but they might be that they're struggling with the ingredients and the recipes. So actually, to have a subject made specifically for someone who is already a chef or is about to start learning to become a chef, that can really give them a boost. And then when they're hearing all this terminology and seeing it, they're already familiar with it. So instead of that panic that we all get, if we're doing something new and there are words we don't understand, you sort of think, I can't do this, and switch off or panic or whatever it might be. Whereas if there were all these words you've been familiar with because you've been looking at them, seeing them, hearing them, typing them, it's a massive thing. So all of that is, I think, and thankfully, I think you've already backed it up from what you've said, and the feedback we get from people makes it brilliant for adults and children with all sorts of neurodiversity, but also anyone who wants to learn to type or improve their reading and spelling. I think that's one of the things that I love about it, and it's one of my big passions, that you can actually have resources and you can teach in a classroom or in a college or a university or whatever it might be in a way that's suitable for everyone. And that's what TTRS is 100% about.
Yeah, definitely. And I think anything that from my point of view, just personally, like anything that can kind of help my ability to read and write and spell, you know, I'm all for it. And especially, as I said a moment ago, you know, when it's just not, it's not patronizing. And I know that I keep coming back to that point, but for me, I feel like I've done, certainly through my school years and college years, like I tried so many different things online, and all of them were just rubbish, really, if I'm being honest. And I wish I had TTRS when I was a kid, because I really feel like it would have made a big difference. But thankfully, it is here now, and I'm gonna have to probably start reading it. But the only book I've ever read is Where's Wally, and that's not really that's more of a sort of, you're finding him, aren't you, really? So
well, I bet you're a lot better at that than I am, because I'm words fine, pictures I can't, it doesn't compute in my head. So I guess we probably better wrap up. We're coming to the end of the time.
I know.
We haven't prompted anyone to ask questions, and I think now we're probably a little bit out of time for it. What I would say is you'll get an email from us. Please, if you have any questions, just come back to us. And I think in the email I've given your Instagram details. So if you want to directly get in touch with Ollie, feel free to do that. If he doesn't reply straight away, prompt him. He's lost the message. No, he's really not that bad. He's great. Absolutely brilliant. And if you want to speak to me about anything to do with TTRS or dyslexia and things, then just get in touch. You'll have that opportunity too. I can see we've had one thing pop up in the questions. It isn't so much a question, but just that it sounds like a great program. And as we both said, it really is. And it's not that we're doing a big sales pitch. It's just, it's great. So it's great. Have a go, and stay in touch with us, really.
Amazing. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for hanging out, and we'll do this again next week.
Next week. I'm busy next week. Maybe we can. No, we will. You won't hear the end of us two talking, that's for sure, because we enjoy talking too much and we like sharing it with other people. So
100%. We should do it again.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Please do get in touch with any questions, and have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone.